Crusoe. In Robinson Crusoe, there was a gentleman by the name of Friday. And Friday was the aide-de-camp, the confidant, the protector, defender, the gopher, whatever needed to be done to save the day for Robinson Crusoe, his man Friday. That's where the term comes, my man Friday or his man Friday.
I got one.
So I submit and commend to you that you should just get the Cliff Notes on Robinson Crusoe. My Uncle Harold, my great Uncle Harold, P.F. Roberts' brother, was Colonel Thomas Claiborne Frost's man Friday. When the Frost family lived over on Soledad, it was just about 1,000 yards away. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, and my grandfather lived in this store above the business right here. And I believe that the president of St. Philip's College, Dr. Lawson, please stand. When it was located in La Villita, that was just 1,000 feet away.
All right.
So there's so many linkages here. It's important to note that at dinner one evening, my great-grandmother said to my great-uncle Harold, because Uncle Howard, my great-uncle Howard, worked in the Frost business, in the mercantile or something of that nature. So that's Howard that worked in the store or in the warehouse, even though he had a degree from Tuvalu and a master's back in the 1890s. The only person that would give him a job was the Frost family.
All right. All right now.
We weren't much on educated Negroes at that time. Harold, on the other hand, when inquired of by Susan Galvan Roberts, she said, well, Harold, what exactly do you do for Colonel Frost? I said, well, Mama, I just, whatever he needs done, I do. She said, well, do you work in the store? I said, no. Do you work at the family home? I said, no. He said, when he needs me to drive him somewhere, he needs to go somewhere, he calls me and I come and we go. So my great-grandmother, Suzanne, said, I don't know what you do, even as we inquire of what your duties are. But I know the Frost family. They're a Christian family. So whatever it is you're doing, I know it's got to be a Christian relationship at some point. That's the credit that my great-grandmother, a former enslaved person, felt about the Frost family. I'm going to go to some notes that I prepared for you. These are low-tech, high-cost phones sometimes. Normally when I lecture, I'm never blessed to be this close to the audience. This is such a wonderful, intimate opportunity. This auspicious occasion needs to be noted and put in perspective. Today is the 22nd of February. It's George Washington's birthday. I was born on this date, but it is not my birthday. It is my mother's birthday. Ye have not birthed yourself. So in the African tradition, you catch a shark, a dog, or a hog, and you get to your mother's feet and you bow down in deference to your mother. The Bible says it a little differently. Honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long numbered upon the earth. So thank you, Mama. This is the most important day in my life. Not my birth, not my marriage, not the birth of my children, not completing high school, not completing my master's work, not completing law school. None of that is important as this day, and I did not know it. This is the day that is the culmination of all the times that during the summers I spent in Dallas County, Harris County, and in Bexar County. In the summers, all our cousins would be awakened randomly at 2, 3, and 4 o'clock in the morning. What happened in 1846? I don't know. Get up, it's time to read. What happened in 1824? I don't know. Get up, let's read. What happened in 1873? I knew that. That was the creation of Waller County. And P.F. Roberts' great-grandfather-in-law was the first treasurer of Waller County in 1873, when Harris County gave its western sliver, Washington County gave its eastern sliver, and Grimes County gave its southern sliver to create Waller County in 1873. But he was already on his third term as treasurer of the territories. Tomorrow is the beginning of the siege of the Alamo. How befitting. Didn't know that. That's why I told you need the notepads. You were standing on the plain where the Battle of the Alamo was committed. This is where the cannon shot at the Alamo from these positions all around the ring of the Alamo. Tomorrow, before dawn. So how fitting is it? This is a constellation of stars that God has put together. This event today, and tomorrow is the siege of the Alamo.
Right now.
This is also the site, and Dr. Gentry made the comment earlier, the Freedmen's Bureau, better known as the Freedmen's Bureau, but originally it was the Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Lost Lands. That's the real name. It was created in 1865, and it was gone in 7 years, and Lincoln preceded them. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States, was known as Abraham Africanus I. They never called George Herbert Walker Bush Abraham or Africanus. But that was the papers of the day referred to Abraham Lincoln as Abraham Africanus I. Now you know why the penny is bronze. And he's facing in a different direction, unlike all the other presidents. And Hannibal Hamlin, whose vice president, was darker than he was. The reason why the Freedmen's Bureau was gone in 7 years because it was working too well. We were on the come up. They're like, that ain't gonna happen. Excuse my grammar. I'm gonna cut them and split them. But the bottom line is, do you understand? I'm gonna make you laugh for a few minutes at some points. And you probably will cry inside your soul at a few other points in my presentation. And then I want to make you laugh again. Housekeeping detail. Correction of an omission by a print media, not to be disclosed, regarding Colonel Frost's refusal to take an oath to the Union. See, when you leave out facts, it changes the nature of everything. Colonel Thomas Claiborne Frost refused to take an oath to the Union after the Emancipation Proclamation because, for some of you who may not be aware, the Emancipation Proclamation only freed slaves in the South. Slaves in the North were not free. And Colonel Frost, being a Christian warrior, he said, why am I going to take an oath to you all when you're deceptive? Either we free all the slaves or none of the slaves, but not half of the slaves. So he was referred to as a scallywag for that. So I take umbrage at the writer who failed to include why he refused to take an oath to the Union. He wasn't just a renegade, he wasn't just being difficult, he was a principled man. So when you understand the principles of this man, Colonel Thomas Claiborne Frost, then you understand him, and you understand his grandfather, Dr. Frost, in Alabama. This is in derogation of the Daughters of the Republic of Texas in derogation of the United Daughters of the Confederacy, who are submitting revisionist accounts of Negro history, including slavery, for adoption by the TEA and the National Texas Education Association and the National Education Association for the legislatures. They respin it, and we had to live with it. But the reason why my grandmother and my mother woke all of us up at 2, 3, and 4 o'clock in the morning, so this was pounded into us. So no matter what was written, we could correct the information. You might ask, what is your historical pedigree? Ernest Franklin Stevenson Quadimisile II. I am the 6th generation of the Bradford-Kilpatrick clan. Anika, Sophia, say, I am number 8. Stand up loud, say it.
All right.
They can hear you. Say, I am number 8.
All right now.
This is the
Come
8th
on now.
generation. The grandmothers behind them, Attorney Judy Ponder,
Yeah.
now resides in Atlanta.
right.
My law colleague, Tiffany Simmons, and my daughter, Yasmin.
Yay!
The Bradford Kilpatricks are of the original 300 from Stephen F. Austin. We were wedding gifted by Caleb Wallace, who was one of the Gummy Bones while I'm talking. Caleb Wallace was one of the original 300. And we belonged to him. We being my great-great-great-grandfather, Wilson Bradford, was the property of Caleb Wallace. That was 1924. Everybody was in by the summer. Now, this is up here. We were gifted by Caleb Wallace to his son-in-law, William W.H. Woodard, who was gifted a plantation from his father-in-law, Caleb Wallace, one of the original 300. William W.H. Woodard, the son-in-law, later would become, in 1846, the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan in Grimes County. That's who we were gifted to as a wedding gift.
Lord have mercy.
What is today Hempstead was southern Grimes County. My family was affiliated with the establishment of Hempstead in 1858, Waller County in 1873. We were around in the first decennial census for the state of Texas. Statehood was 1845. So the first decennial census would be 1850. Racism was very busy then. So in the 1850 decennial census for Grimes County, it lists all the residents of Grimes County, their livestock, and Willie's Pearl, and Hazardales Jr., and everybody's listening. And at the very bottom of the census it says, 2 African Americans, or 2 Negroes, 1 female, and 1 black. This is the feds. The description is there, but no names. But they own 4,000 acres. How could you own 4,000 acres in southern Grimes County, aka Hempstead, Texas, and we don't know who you are? This is the debauchery and the treachery of the government expressing racism. The only reason why we know who they are is because we know who we are.
Yeah.
African proverb. You don't know what you don't know. How profound. You don't know what you don't know. So I am the convergence of 2 plantations. The Woodard plantation, William W.H. Woodard of Grimes County, when that was incorporated in 1846, but he already had the land before the incorporation because he came in 1824. The other convergence on the other side is Roberts. Roberts is from the Bridgeport Plantation in Yazoo County, Mississippi. The most fertile dirt in North America. It is called the Mississippi Delta, not to be confused with the Mississippi River Delta at New Orleans. There are two Mississippi Deltas. I didn't know that. I had to get that beat into my head. The Mississippi Delta is in North Mississippi. You have the Yazoo on the eastern side, the Mississippi down the center, and the Arkansas River on the west. That made it the most fertile dirt in North America. You've heard of the term $1 billion? The first $1 billion recorded in the world was recorded by the state of Mississippi, where cotton was king. In that year in the 1800s, America was number one economically. You'd have kept the United Kingdom, Britain was number two, France was number three, and the state of Mississippi was number 4 in the world. Just let that distill in your head, that a state could be the 4th largest economy on the planet by itself. So if you took away the state of Mississippi, the United States would not have been number 1. That's how much cotton came out of Mississippi. The business loan of 1896 was such a dangerous decision by Colonel Thomas Claiborne Frost. He could have been lynched, hung, murdered for giving a Negro. And please, black folks, this is a side conversation with the family. Don't get upset because I said Negro. All that means is it's black and Spanish. And if you recall, 1824 was when Spain outlawed slavery in Texas, but you didn't know that. So we were Negroes because we were Spanish colonists. The loan came while P.F., my grandfather, was hunting on his deer lease, his 20-acre deer lease off of W.W. White. Now people, come on now. 1896, what Negro had a 20-acre deer lease? It was Frost's deer lease. He was kindly, he liked to go hunting. And he arranged for the officers of the upper echelon of Fort Sam and his friends to go hunting. See, remember, when they meet, P.F. is 31, Frost is 62. And he's gone in 8 years. He died at 70. So this is a high-speed relationship. I said, P.F., I understand that you were trying to get some money. I said, yeah, but you don't ask friends for money. He said, well, how's it working for you? Well, not real well. He said, why don't you stop by the back on money if you haven't been more successful over the weekend, and we'll work something out. So my grandfather put on his black suit, his hat, which I had cleaned and blocked. I don't know that he had his brother's high-top Stacy's on, white shirt, tie, and he went to the bank, Frost, because no other bank he could go to that he could enter and not be thrown out into the gutter. And when he enters, he says, Professor Roberts. I said, yes, how did you know? He said, we don't get that many Negroes coming in the bank. Colonel Frost left an envelope for you. He said, I need for you to count it and sign for it. He said, well, I trust it, Colonel. I don't need to count it. He said, I don't want to lose my job. You got to count it and then sign for it. So the original request was for $1,000. which today's money back then would have been $30,000. In the envelope was $60,000. It was $2,000 in the envelope. And my grandfather said, I can't take that. He said, well, you got it, because I don't want to lose my job. So what my grandfather did, he put the 1,000 away, and he ran this business on 1,000. And you, the Negro community, the African American community, the colored community, whatever you want to be today, patronize this business. And he paid that loan back in the same year it was given.
All right.
Yeah. So hell to you.
Yeah.
Still, Frost was curious about what he saw in Roberts as being troubling. So he asked him on one of his hunting excursions, he says to Harold and to Howard, what's going on with your brother? And they're very stoic. Stoic is a word that means you can endure a lot of pain and not show it. They said, well, you need to ask him. And so he says, it's my mother. He said, well, what about your mother? He said, she's still on the plantation in Mississippi. He said, well, let's go get her. That's the courage of Frost. He's going to leave Texas with his boys and going to go to Mississippi and get my great-grandmother. And my grandfather and his brother said, no, you can't do that. He said, well, do you have the money? He said, we got $1,000. He said, I don't think it's going to be enough, but you go down there. So my grandfather went, and Master Bridgeforth said, oh, I remember you, because my grandfather was one of 8. So you got your little education now with the N-word. He said, I came to get my mom. He said, well, she's got a C-H-I-T. It's called a chit. But African American people, you know what we call that? At the grocery store, at the company store. He said, well, her chit is $1,500. That was $30,000, and then another 10. He didn't have that kind of money, so he came back to Texas. And in fact, before he came to school here to teach in San Antonio, he picked cotton and taught school in Floresville, which used to be an all-black town before they found oil. And so he was bent over with a 20-foot gunny sack teaching in the cotton patch, ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, to those 4 to 84. Frost, upon learning of his return, said, I told you that wasn't going to be enough. So Colonel Frost gave them some more money when they returned 2 years later. They came 4 days in the morning to get my great-grandmother, Susanna. They woke Slave Master Bridgeford up. He said, oh, y'all came back. You came to get Granny? I said, yes. He said, well, you know she got that $1,500 bill. But, you know, y'all been gone for 2 years. So my grandfather said, well, how much was that? Well, it's another $1,500.
Crook.
My grandfather, P.F., turned to Harold and said, hand me your billfold, courtesy of Colonel Frost. And he pulls out $1,500 and lays it on the stump. And he turns to his brother Howard, says, give me your billfold. And Howard goes into his billfold and he lays another $1,500 from Colonel Frost on the stump. That's $3,000. And then my grandfather went into his own billfold and said, if in the next 5 minutes she gets another bill, here's another $1,000. 30,000, 30,000, and another 30,000. That's almost $90,000 that Colonel Frost did to pay for my great-grandmother to come home.
Wow. That's incredible.
Now you know why my Uncle Howard would take no pay as he worked in the store. He said, I owe you my life and my mother's life. I will take no pay. The African ceremony, if you all saw Roots, or you didn't, you need to see it. It says, behold, and lift the baby up. Behold, the only thing greater than thou, the heavens. And so, Amos, my great-grandfather, Susan's husband, lifts PF up to the heavens and named him Lawyer Henry Porterfield Roberts. Because the expectation was you put a name on the child that they can rise up to. And my great-grandfather understood that we needed lawyers in our condition. So he named this baby Lawyer with the hope that that dream and expectation would go forth from him. It landed in me. 2 generations later.
All right. Yes.
But that was my great-grandparents' enslaved petition to God that this might happen.
Yeah.
While my grandfather was away at school, Master Bridgeforth murdered my grandfather. He was my grandfather, the livestock specialist, all kinds of livestock. The indication was that he got kicked in the head. But those who recovered him on the plantation said that he was hit in the head with a sledgehammer.
Oh, Lord.
My great-grandmother, Suzanne, did not want her son to know because she was concerned that his rage would derail his potential career. So she kept it quiet. So while he was at school, Master Bridgeforth and my granddaughter's oppressors, I had to keep this proper, maintained an open door policy with my great-grandmother. Whenever he saw fit, he came to visit. This is the ravage of slavery. They don't want to talk about this, but I got to in order for you to understand the other side, the beauty of this woman who produced this man. She endured him, and he impregnated her. She already had 8 by my grandfather. Abortions and old things, an old African military custom. My great-grandmother was a midwife, and her fellow midwives blackened her womb. Y'all are not familiar with that, but black folks, we know what that means. They performed whatever roots, whatever was necessary, so that she would not be able to bring that baby to term. She was impregnated several times, and she mysteriously, not mysterious to us, kept losing the baby. Master Bridgeforth's objective was to impregnate her so he could bring a new muse. I'm going to be polite because my babies are here. To bring a new muse for his desires on the scene. And my grandmother and the midwives would not allow it. So that never happened. So every time she was pregnant and poking out and she lost the baby, he took the liberty of having her stripped, having her dipped. You don't know that. That means dipped in molasses, whipped and salted. Stripped, dipped, whipped, and salted. This is the real slavery. So whenever you queens, black, Caucasian, Hispanic, think you're having a bad day, you haven't seen one.
I ain't seen a bad day.
Now, let's go and find out what the aftermath is when she comes to Texas. She runs the store. On holidays, she sends holiday meals over to the Frost. Because she understands it's not about pigmentation. It's about what's in your soul. And she understood that the Frost had rescued her from hell. So she wasn't the cook, but her way of giving back was to give these holiday dinners for Easter and Christmas and New Year's and the 4th of July to the Frost family. who were only 1,000 yards away. And she made the sack lunches for St. Philip's College, which was then less than 100 yards away at Lafayette. This is that woman. So, 301 Victoria Street and 601 South Pine Street became the citadel of civil rights. Booker T. Washington, Thurgood Marshall, Charles Hamilton Houston, they were kids. Charles Hamilton Houston's father, LaPrey Houston, was one of the early black barristers from the East Coast. They were coming here. A. Philip Randolph was coming here to meet because it was too violent in Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. So who knew that the agenda for civil rights for the whole United States was being done at 601 South Pine Street? That structure still exists. That's our next project, to have a federal, state, and local designation. And Dr. Adina Lawson, I charge you and us with trying to name the dining hall in St. Philip's after this queen. I can't think of a better person, since there's no name on the dining hall, than having Suzanne Galvin Roberts be designated as the Suzanne Galvin Roberts Dining Hall, and her picture put up in some kind of historical designation of what she did, so that St. Philip's could be what it is.
All right.
As I close, Eleanor Roosevelt came to the house. She was the first lady of the state of New York at that time. Mary McLeod Bethune, her aide-de-camp, came. But guess what Texas boy came? LBJ. It wasn't Southwest Texas State at the time. It was San Marcos Normal School. And he risked his life coming up and down the highway as a civil rights intern in the company of Thurgood and Booker T. Washington and others. Is Sam Sutton's offspring, Charles Andrews, are you here? Didn't make it. It's important for us to understand. This woman who took all these strikes, all these violations, she touched 3 presidents. She touched Theodore Roosevelt. She touched Franklin through his wife. And one of the agendas we know now, the Voting Rights Act of 1964, all those Voting Rights Act and Civil Rights legislation, that was from LBJ being at 601 South Pine Street. When he appointed Mary McLeod Bethune in 41, when he was a senator, to be a part of the National Youth Arrangement. 3 major Supreme Court cases were figured out, and Thurgood studied at that house.
All right now. Yeah.
Because he couldn't be in the danger zone of being in Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia. So Brown versus Board of Education, 1954, studied at the house. Sweat versus Painter, 47, the integration of UT Law School, done right there at 601 South Pine Street. 42, Cowan Williams versus Orville Farmers, Arkansas, the equalization of pay for Negro teachers. That was done at 601 South Pine Street. And my final thing is, this is not a black thing.
Right.
This
Right.
is an us thing. People who believe in what is right.
That's good. That's
And
good.
what
That's good
links
stuff.
these 2 giants together was the ability of one right man to see another right man. And together, look what they were able to pull off. Pullman, the Pullman car porters, created a piece of luggage that allowed my aunt, another offspring and sister of this gentleman, P.F. Roberts, in that litigation they were trying to kill her in 42 because she was bringing this lawsuit that would find its way to the Supreme Court. So Pullman had a special piece of luggage made that had aerated holes in the top of the leather. And it was a chair. She sat down in the luggage, and all her personal effects was on the left side of the luggage. And these big bulwark Pullman car porters would set the luggage down on the deck while the police searched the compartments looking for her. Searched all the buses coming and going and all the cars coming and going. They didn't know that she was in the luggage.
Right there.
Once the train got back on the track, she was in the car with the porters playing Dirty Hearts, Big Risk, and so forth. So as I go to my seat, I told you I'd make you laugh, that you might cry, make you laugh again. This is real, people.
Yeah.
This is real. And all of us in here, in our own special way, must find a way for more of us to come together for what we can do that is right. Almighty God will bless your every righteous endeavor. Just think about what that would be. Bless you.